All right, so you're here because XRP has piqued your interest.
Especially with the election and what it could mean for investing in it.
You bet.
You've sent in a ton of articles, price predictions, even a request for a whole episode on XRP.
Yeah, you're serious about getting the full picture,
Yeah.
and that's great.
It is. This is perfect, actually.
Ah,
Yeah, all these different sources you've sent over, but we can re-look at XRP from every angle.
I like it.
Technical analysis, market sentiment. We've even got some pretty wild predictions in here.
Definitely wild. So
Yeah.
think of this deep dive as your XRP crash course.
A crash course. I like it.
We'll cover how it works,
Yep.
its insane price history, and what's driving the price today.
Yes.
So you can decide for yourself if it's an investment you want to make.
Sounds good to me. Let's kick things off with the basics. What is XRP?
Okay.
And how is it different from other cryptos, like everyone's favorite Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's a good place to start because we all hear about Bitcoin, but XRP feels like it's playing a different game.
You're right, it is. While Bitcoin aims to be this decentralized alternative to traditional money, XRP is more about making the current system better.
Oh.
Think of it like a super efficient bridge for moving money across borders, especially for banks and financial institutions.
Interesting. So it's more about streamlining what's already there
Right.
and building something totally new.
Exactly. And it does this using something called the Ripple Consensus Ledger.
Okay.
Now, instead of relying on tons of anonymous miners like Bitcoin, XRP uses a smaller group of trusted validators to verify transactions.
Gotcha.
And these validators are mostly banks.
Interesting. So it's like a VIP club for processing transactions.
You got it.
So it seems like the focus is more on speed and efficiency than being completely decentralized.
Exactly. And this approach means transactions can settle almost instantly, making it way faster and cheaper than traditional methods.
Makes sense why banks would be interested. But wouldn't that make XRP more vulnerable to manipulation or control? Fewer people calling the shots and all that.
That's a valid concern, and it's something critics of XRP bring up a lot.
They argue that relying on this pre-selected group of validators goes against the whole idea of decentralization,
Yeah.
which many see as essential for a true cryptocurrency.
So it's kind of a trade-off. Speed and efficiency on one hand, but worries about centralization on the other.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder how that all plays out in the real world.
Well, that brings us to the sometimes confusing relationship between Ripple, the company,
Okay.
and XRP, the cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I always get those mixed up.
Yeah, a lot of people do. They're often used interchangeably,
Yeah.
but it's super important to understand the difference.
Sort me out here.
Okay, think of it like this.
Yeah.
Google created the Android operating system,
Right.
but they don't control every phone that uses Android.
Okay.
In the same way, Ripple Labs created XRP and manages its initial distribution, but they don't control the XRP ledger or the cryptocurrency itself.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So Ripple's the company.
Yep.
XRP's the technology.
Two separate things, even though people lump them together.
Got it.
Now let's talk about XRP's price history.
Oh, okay.
It's been a wild ride, to say the least.
Wild might be an understatement, more like a roller coaster designed by someone who loves loops and sudden drops.
Oh boy. I'm already getting a little motion sick. Tell me more.
Well, for years, XRP was basically a penny stock. Nobody really paid attention to it.
Uh-huh.
Then came the crypto boom of 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, XRP was the hottest thing going, reaching an all-time high of $3.84.
Wow, that's quite a jump. But what goes up?
You know, it must come down. And it did sharply, but even with all the ups and downs, XRP has this knack for bouncing back.
Interesting.
It stabilized around 30 cents in 2019,
Okay.
then got another boost during the 2020 bull run, pushing closer to 80 cents.
So resilient, even if it likes a little drama.
It does, but then there's the SEC lawsuit everyone's talking about.
Right.
That definitely threw a wrench in things.
Yeah, it did. Didn't that cause a dip in the price?
Absolutely. The lawsuit was filed in late 2020, and they alleged that Ripple was selling XRP as an unregistered security. It created a ton of uncertainty, and the price did dip, but XRP recovered pretty well, especially with the overall crypto boom that happened after.
Wow. It sounds like XRP has been through a lot. It makes you wonder how much potential is really there despite all these legal challenges.
It really does. You know it's true. XRP has definitely seen its share of challenges.
Yeah, it has.
But that actually leads us perfectly to the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, what's that?
Well, you sent over a ton of price predictions from different experts. Some are super bullish, others not so much. And it all comes down to how they weigh the risks and the potential of XRP.
I gotta say, seeing predictions ranging from $1 to a couple $1,000 is kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be a lot to take in.
Where do we even start trying to make sense of all that?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
And it's why we need to look beyond just the hype and really dig into what drives XRP's value.
Okay, so let's forget about the crystal ball for a second.
Yeah.
What are the fundamental things to think about when you're evaluating XRP as an investment?
Well, the first thing I always look at is real-world adoption.
Okay.
It's one thing for a cryptocurrency to have a fancy white paper and a passionate community,
Yeah.
but is it actually being used?
Right. It needs to solve a real problem for real people,
Exactly.
or in this case, real institutions.
Yeah, and that's where XRP really shines.
Mhm.
Remember, its purpose is to make those cross-border payments faster, cheaper, and more efficient.
Right.
We're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar industry here.
Wow.
And XRP is already being used by banks and payment providers all over the world.
Can you give me an example? Because to be honest, I think a lot of people, myself included, have a hard time picturing how this crypto stuff actually works in practice.
Of course.
Mm.
So let's say a business in the U.S. needs to send a large payment to a supplier in Japan.
Okay.
Traditionally, this would involve multiple intermediaries, currency conversions, a lot of waiting time.
Please.
Oh, yeah. Not to mention the hefty fees.
Right.
But with XRP, that same transaction could happen almost instantly and with significantly lower costs.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder why everyone isn't using it already.
Well, there are still some hurdles to overcome.
Like what?
One of the biggest, of course, is that ongoing SEC lawsuit.
Right. That's the elephant in the room. What's the latest on that anyway? I feel like it's been going on forever.
It has been a long and complicated process.
Yeah.
So the SEC claims that Ripple sold XRP as an unregistered security,
Right.
while Ripple argues that XRP is a currency, not a security.
I'm no lawyer, but that seems like a pretty fundamental difference of opinion.
It is.
What are the potential consequences depending on how the case is decided?
Well, if the SEC wins, it could severely restrict XRP's use and trading in the United States.
Oh, wow.
This would be a major setback for XRP.
Yeah.
And likely lead to a significant drop in price.
Ouch. That doesn't sound good. What if Ripple wins?
A victory for Ripple would be a huge boost for XRP.
Okay.
It would remove all that regulatory uncertainty
Yeah.
and likely lead to a surge in investor confidence.
So it's a pretty high-stakes situation.
Definitely.
And in the meantime, everyone's just holding their breath.
Pretty much. But even beyond the lawsuit, there are other things to think about.
Oh, like what?
For example, how quickly will banks and other financial institutions actually adopt XRP?
Yeah.
Will it become the industry standard for cross-border payments?
Right? It all comes back to adoption.
Exactly.
The more people use it, the more valuable it becomes.
You got it.
Kind of like those early social media platforms.
Yeah.
The ones that got the most users became the giants we know today.
Exactly. And then there's competition.
Right.
XRP isn't the only player in this space.
Of course not.
There are other crypto projects out there,
Uh-huh.
as well as established players like Swift, all competing for market share.
So even if it overcomes these legal hurdles, it still has to fight for its place in the market.
It does.
It seems like no matter how you look at it, XRP is a bit of a gamble.
Well, every investment involves some risk, especially in the crypto world.
Sure.
But that's why it's so important to understand the technology, the potential,
Yeah.
and, the challenges.
And speaking of challenges, you mentioned one of the articles brought up a potential shift in the regulatory landscape,
Right.
particularly with the new president-elect and all the rumors about the SEC chairman.
That's right. It's still very early,
Yeah.
but there is some speculation that President-elect Trump's pro-crypto stance could lead to a more favorable regulatory environment, which could benefit XRP.
But like you said before, we can't assume there's a direct correlation.
Right.
There's so many other things at play.
Absolutely.
It's like trying to predict the weather months in advance.
Exactly. It's a complex equation with a lot of variables.
Okay, so we have real-world adoption, regulatory hurdles, competition, and the wild card of political shifts.
You got it.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
Maybe we should take a minute to go through some of those price predictions you mentioned.
Yeah.
They might help put things in perspective.
I think that's a great idea. After all, these predictions are based on how different experts are weighing all these various factors.
All right, let's dive into the numbers.
Oh.
What are some of the most interesting forecasts you've come across? Okay, so we've talked about what XRP is trying to do, how it's being used, the whole SEC lawsuit hanging over its head, and the regulatory landscape.
Right. A lot to consider.
But at the end of the day, when it comes to investing, everyone wants to know one thing: the price.
You're absolutely right, and you've given us a ton of price predictions to look at.
I did. One that caught my eye was from Digital Coin Price.
Okay.
They're predicting XRP will hit $1.81 by 2026,
Mm.
and even go as high as $3.62 by 2030.
Yeah, they're definitely on the bullish side.
They are.
Their analysis really focuses on how financial institutions are increasingly using XRP for those cross-border payments.
Right.
And they believe this trend is only going to continue, which will drive up demand and lead to higher prices.
That makes sense, especially if XRP really does end up replacing SWIFT. But then I saw this prediction from Wallet Investor that's painting a totally different picture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're actually forecasting a drop to less than 40 cents by 2025.
Wow.
What are they basing that on?
Well, Wallet Investor tends to be more conservative in their outlook.
Okay.
They're really factoring in the uncertainty of the SEC lawsuit
Uh-huh.
and suggesting that it could have a big negative impact on XRP's price, at least for the next few years.
So we've got two very different views here.
Yeah.
One focused on long-term growth,
Right.
the other highlighting short-term risks.
Yeah, classic bulls versus bear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there are analysts like eGreg Crypto who are throwing out some seriously optimistic numbers,
Yeah.
saying XRP could hit $27, even $2,500 in the next few years.
I saw those too.
It's kind of hard to believe.
It's important to remember that not all predictions are created equal. Some analysts are known for being a little more, let's say, exuberant in their forecasts.
Okay, so how should we be looking at these price predictions? Should we just throw darts at a board and see what sticks?
Haha, probably not the best strategy.
Okay, good to know.
The key is to see these predictions as just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
They can be helpful for understanding different viewpoints and potential scenarios, but you shouldn't base your investment decisions solely on predictions.
So what should we be focusing on? What are the big takeaways from all this?
I think that the most important takeaway is this XRP is at a crossroads.
Okay.
It has huge potential to disrupt the global payments industry, but it also faces some major challenges.
Mainly that SEC lawsuit.
Exactly. It's like we're watching a high-stakes poker game.
Yeah.
Everyone's waiting to see who's going to fold first.
The SEC or Ripple.
Exactly. And the outcome of that is probably going to determine what happens to XRP for years to come.
So what does all this mean for you, the listener? What should you do with all this information?
It all comes back to doing your own research. Don't just rely on headlines or price predictions.
Right.
Really dig in.
Yeah.
Understand how XRP works, its pros and cons, the regulatory landscape, the competition.
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely. Especially when you're investing in something as volatile as cryptocurrency.
And I think it's important to remember that XRP isn't just another crypto trying to get rich quick.
Yeah.
It's trying to solve a real problem, and that has to count for something.
Absolutely. XRP's focus on making cross-border payments easier gives it a real purpose and a potential market that's absolutely massive.
Huge.
If it can get past those regulatory hurdles and people start using it widely, it could completely change how we move money around the world.
And that's something worth paying attention to.
It is.
We hope this deep dive into XRP has given you the info and insights you need to decide if it's the right investment for you.
Remember, the crypto world is constantly changing. Stay curious, stay informed, and as always, invest wisely.